Welcome back. This is Danberg SC. About a month ago, I put up a video that said I'm going to win my next tournament, and I worked my ass off all month, which was why there were no videos, and I won my tournament on the 29th. It is now the 1st of February, so I'm going to be putting this video up a couple of days later after I cooled down. I got my notes together and kind of put together a couple screens to show you what I was doing, but I'm going to take you through today the overall result of that tournament. So, anyway, there were 4 games and 1 break that you played at this tournament, and there was 30 minutes, no bonus time control. So of this tournament, the style is it's going to award you for winning your games early and not really penalize you as much for losing your later games. So it's weighted heavily on winning your first game, winning your second game. That's how you win this tournament. You can't, it benefits you for that. So of your 4 games, you've got 9 points for your first game, 9 points for your second game, 8 points for your third game, 7 points for your final game. This is not ELO or like how many MMR points you increase if you win. This is just for that tournament to decide how many points you have for this tournament if you win or lose it. So you can, if you win your first game, you get 9 points. If you lose your first game, you get 0 points, and so on. So basically, this means I can have 3 wins and 1 loss, and someone else can have 3 wins and 1 loss, but I will win or they will win depending on when you won. For example, if I win my first game, win my second game, win my third game, lose my last game, I have 998 points. 3 wins, 1 loss, 998. If someone else in the tournament wins their first game, wins their second game, loses their third game, wins their fourth game, they have 3 wins, 1 loss, but they have 997. So therefore, my 998 would beat their 997, even though we are both 3-1. I won the earlier games, so it gives me a better score overall. That's how this tournament was set up in that. And you get 1 break in there that they will decide when you take your break. You don't decide it, and you don't decide who you will play beforehand. You know who's going to be in your bracket, but you don't know who you're going to be playing until day of. They actually just do kind of random draw, and then you go in and you prepare. So you have to prepare for everyone. Sometimes it doesn't. You prepare things that you don't need. That's the overall style of the tournament that we played in. So anyway, my group was 7 people. It was me, and I will use just letters to explain who they are: A, B, C, D, E, and F. A, B, C, D, E, and F. So of this, I have written down over the past month and a half or 2 months how many games we've played together, and then our wins versus my wins versus their wins. So my win-loss ratio against these people. So everyone knows me, Danberg, at the tournament. A static rook player. I'll explain what that is in a little bit. But I play the Jagoda if I can, if they allow me to set up my Jagoda castle and they want to play Jagoda as well. We will do Jagoda together. If not, I play a mean bishop exchange. Those are my 2 lines that I play just about every time if they're playing static rook, if they're doing some meta variation. For people that play ranged rook against me, I'm a very aggressive player. If they're playing ranged rook, I'll usually leave my king as it is and not really castle and just kind of slam out across the board, or I'll do a very light version of a castle, only 3 or 4 moves it's going to take just to kind of put my king away, so he can't be hit with a check or anything like that. And then I'll go very aggressive on the board. Everyone knows how I play this. I do that unless they play a castle called Anaguma. Then I'm kind of a more conservative player. It's a long, slow game, but I'm good with that. Everyone knows I play this way. So people can prepare that against me. I'm not going to play anything different in this tournament. I have the people, I've ranked them as how concerned I am to hit them in this tournament. So I have A, B, C, D, E, and F. So at the top, A. I've played this person 5 times over the past month and a half, and I have lost every game against them. They play a very hyper-aggressive center rook style. Very, very aggressive center rook style. And over the past 5 games, I have gotten better and better and better at defending their center rook and then attacking in. And the last time we played, we had a 20-minute versus 20-minute time control with no bonus time. I had about 2 minutes left on my clock when I was trying to calculate the checkmate of the endgame. I couldn't do it in time. I played a poor move and I ended up losing. But after we sat down and we looked at the game together after I lost, he was like, you actually had a checkmate. You had a checkmate. I just couldn't find it in the 2-minute time. I needed probably about 5 or 6 minutes to find it. It was like an 11 or 13 move checkmate. I couldn't calculate it in 2 minutes. It's just too much for me. If I had 5-6 minutes on it, I probably could have done it. Just couldn't get it on that time control, so I lost that game. So I felt like, okay, I've lost every game against this person for the past couple months, but every time I play them, I'm getting closer and closer and closer to winning. So I figure, okay, I'm going to prepare for this person over the last time when I found that they're in my group. So I have about 7 days to prepare for this tournament when I found the roster of everyone and A was in my class. I spent 3 of those 7 days specifically preparing stuff for their center rook style. If I'm playing first player, if I'm playing second player, I'm preparing for them. They're the majority of my prep time. A lot of people coming into this tournament, when they saw the roster, they said either me or A are going to win this tournament. It's either going to be Mr. A or myself. So I spent all my time preparing for A. So that's the person that I'm most worried about getting in this tournament. So after that, I have B. B is a relatively new person to my school. They're in my school, so they're not a chump. They're a very good player. Even though they just kind of joined. I've played them 4 times over the past, actually 3 weeks. They're very new. And of those 4 times I've played them, the first time I played them, they completely trashed me on the board. Completely. I lost very, very hard. But I took about 3 days, 4 days after they were, no, it's probably a good week. I took a good week to study that specific style of play after I lost that game with my teacher. And the 2 weekends ago, we came to school and we played a couple games together. We played 3 games and I won all 3 of those games. They were all very close. It was not easy winning. I really just have slightly better end game than my opponent. So I ended up finding some wins in the very, very like late end game and just kind of won the game. So I was confident that, okay, we've played 4 games. I've won 3 of them. I've won all 3 consecutive games that we've played most recently. I think he's going to be preparing stuff for me, but I spent a full day preparing for him as well. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be okay if we get into this kind of game together. I'm gonna do my best. So not comfortable, but not as, I've beaten B. I've not beaten A before. I've not beaten A. So that was kind of my worry. Anyway, so going on to person number C. C, I've played the most of any person in basically the school. I play them a lot. A friend of mine, we play a bunch of games together when we're there. I've played him about, almost 20 times over the past 2 months, and he's beaten me a handful of times, about 3 of them, but I have not lost in the past probably 10 times we've played together. So what it is I'm a very structured player. I play the same thing every time if I can. I have my lines. I know my theory. I know what I want to do. I'm going to play those lines if I can, and I've got strong endgame. This person plays a lot of different tactics against me. Every time I play them, they're playing something a little bit different, so it's very difficult for me to prepare for them. Issue with that is this person knows a little bit about a lot, and I know a lot about a little. And in the way that we've been playing recently, knowing a lot about a little has helped me more than him knowing a little bit about a lot. A little bit of a difficult tongue twister there for everything. But he plays static rook a lot of different ways. I have a better endgame than him, so usually it comes down to when I'm starting to get into the endgame, he just goes hyper aggressive and attacks into me, tries to destroy my castles. If I can find a way to defend it, which I usually do because my endgame isn't terrible, I can win by defending his attack, and then I just go in and find a 5 to 7 move, sometimes 9 move checkmate on them. So not too worried about this person, but still they've taken games off of me. They know how I play more than anyone else in this tournament. I've played this person a lot. They know my style, they know my lines, and there's a very high chance that they can prepare some really nasty stuff for how I play all the time. So I am actually very concerned about C. Even though I've got a very good win rate against them, I'm concerned about it. There's person D. They always play static rook, and they always play the Jagoda against me. So Jagoda is my main bread and butter. It's what I love to play. I know the most theory about it. I'm very comfortable with this strategy, and they also play that. And I haven't really lost against them recently in the past 2 months. I don't play them a lot, but I haven't really lost against them. And usually the games are pretty quick. I can win easily. But he did beat me in my last tournament. So I didn't make a documentary about my last tournament because I played so poorly. I made illegal moves, and I lost 2 of 4 games in that tournament based on illegal moves I played. With this, the reason I lost this game is he played a move and I didn't realize I was in check. I didn't realize I was in check and I made a different move. and he just was like, hey man, you were in check and you made a move that didn't defend your king. You didn't move your king. You just made a random other move while you were in check. That's an illegal move. You lost the game. I hung my king. So I was like, okay, this person kind of tilted me last time I played, and I had some anxiety about playing this person. I was like, I don't really want to play this person either. I didn't really feel comfortable at any of these A through D. E and F. E, I had only played in the previous tournament before, and this was one of the only people in the previous tournament I beat. Fairly easy game. This person isn't super great. They're trying to get better and better, but I'm better at this person in the early, mid, and late game. They play static rook, the bishop exchange, which is my number 2. They play it every time, so I'm kind of like, all right, I didn't really necessarily prepare for this person, but I've been improving my bishop exchange for other people like C, and I'm ready to throw down against this person if they want a bishop exchange against me. I'm not too worried about it. Then there's F. F is a person I've played multiple times in many tournaments. They've never beaten me. They're very much like player C, where they do a lot of different variations of static rook. And again, I'll explain what static rook is. They play a lot of different variations, and they know a little bit about a lot, and it's not as much as C. C is a much more dangerous player than F, so I'm beating C relatively consistently. F, it would be strange if I lost to F. Would be the best way to say it. So this is the bracket. I'm really actually kind of concerned about A through C. I've got a lot of anxiety about D. E and F, I'm kind of like, okay, if I hit them, I hit them, but I'm not too worried about it. So 60% of the bracket I'm concerned with. So it's not an easy tournament for me, but I do have a pretty good win rate. A lot of people think either me or A. So let's get into this game. So the first game I play is against E, and he does this. So let me get into my game here. Bam. So this is my new window. I'm going to put this up here. So this is me versus E. He starts off as 2/6 pawn. Now, I play second player, or what's in shogi it's called golte. Sente is first player, golte is second player. So I play golte in every game of this tournament. Before you play the game, you have to roll kind of you flip a coin to see who goes first, and I lost every coin flip for this tournament. So I went as the black pieces if you want to compare it to chess, or golte for shogi. So this person, again, I remember that they are always usually doing static bishop exchange. This is a bishop exchange, guys, so I'm kind of prepared for bishop exchange. We go through it, and yep, it looks like he's going to do bishop exchange against me. I'm not too worried about everything. I'm not going to go through why I'm making these moves. I'm going to go just kind of quickly through it, but this is where I make the first kind of weird move at this position. So 99 out of 100 times in this position, 99 out of 100 times in this position, I will do a move like this. I'll open up this move, and then if they try to, come out and around, I just kind of get an attack in. So this is kind of how I play. Not exactly like this. This is horrible, actually. I forget I did that. No, anyway, what I'm trying to say is usually I'll push this pawn at this position. I'll push that pawn at this position, but I'm trying to think of, okay, if I move the silver now, if I move the silver up here, so I'm doing this layout again. If you don't know how the pieces move, the arrows kind of explain it. So I want to move the silver here, because I'm thinking if I go here and he goes like this, I have time to defend it, but he's got his silver in the way. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm kind of tilted. I'm like, okay, I need to just kind of calm down. But I played this move. And I never play this move. This is a bad move. I don't like it, because what I was thinking again is if he pushes this pawn, I can bring the silver up forward. He just takes my bishop in this position because I have to take back. And now I want to eventually move my king over to this square and be defended behind this wall here. I want to put my king over here, but now I've got this gold in the way, and I can't get over there anymore. So the game continues, and I'm like, shit, I really don't like how this is going. I'm kind of concerned about what's happening, but at this position, I realize, like, okay, I don't think this person realizes the danger that they're in at this moment if they push this pawn. So I think to myself, okay, I still have an attack that's going to be up and around. I can still do my attack relatively easily. I need to push this pawn. I need to bring this forward, and I push that pawn. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3 moves to do my attack. I need to push this pawn because there's a fork on the other side I want to do. But this person, pretty much, if they push this pawn right now, it could get a little bit nasty if they want to drop this somewhere and try to fork along these lines later. So I'm like, okay, I want to be able to put my king back to where I want to bring, so I'm going to move my gold over 1. This is kind of a tempo loss for me. I understand that, but I'm concerned. I want to be able to play the game that I know what it looks like. I know this board on my side. I know what this board looks like. I don't know what this board looks like. The difference between this and this is the fact that my king can't escape over here if I need him to, if he tries to attack over here. So I was like, let's do it. Then he pushes this pawn. When he pushes this pawn, I'm realizing he doesn't see this fork. He doesn't see this fork that's coming up. So I'll continue on and I'll explain what's going to happen, but this square right here is a very important square. Please remember this square. So he pushes this pawn, I take the pawn, he takes the silver, I drop back, which is very common. I don't want him to drop his pawn here. I'm not going to go into all the theory, but now at this point, I'm expecting him to step back. I'm expecting him to just take this pawn for me, step back, and try to do other moves, but he pushes this pawn. I just want to realize, like, this is very good for me. This is very good for me because he takes the silver, which is better, and then I take this. Now, I clicked the mouse twice. Anyway, in this position, usually what happens is you come in and take this, I drop a pawn here, and then you run back. This is what happens 99% of the time. However, in this specific version, he can't. If he comes and takes this now, I have this fork, which forks his rook and his king. He would have to block somehow, and then I take the rook for free. This is unwinnable at basically this point. You're dead at this point. I can drop it over here. I can attack down this line, take over here. This is super bad. So in this position, before he takes the silver, he realizes this and he moves his king out of the way. So that way, if he takes it now, if I do something stupid, if he takes it now, I don't have this fork anymore. There's nothing that happens, and he can actually come and check my king, which is actually really bad. So he moves it at this position. And when he moves it, I just drop a pawn behind this. So now he can't come and take anymore because I just take back. So at this position, he drops a pawn in front of me. I just step back and I'm like, okay, your attack is done. I'm just clean up a silver. And I went on to win this game very easily. But I felt really stupid about this. I won my first game against E. And I felt confident, but I mean, this stupid move I played here, instead of just attacking like I always do, I played a very stupid line that I'm never used to playing. And I felt after this game, I kind of sat down. I was like, okay, I need to go get a drink of water. Let's go get my head focused, because if I'm playing lines, I spent a week preparing for this tournament and I'm playing stuff that I don't play and stuff that's specifically poor just because I'm underestimating my opponent. Remember, this opponent I've only played twice. I've only played this opponent twice, and of the 2 times I've played this opponent, I've won every time. They play static rook bishop exchange, and I'm kind of like, I'm better than this person. I can make this kind of weird moves and still win. And luckily I did, but I was like, why did I do that to myself? This is just stupid. I should play every opponent as if they're, better than me. I need to be focused on this. I can't do moves like that. This is so dangerous. So I get my shit together and I go into my next round. Next round is that wasn't, I said E the whole time. This is correct. I wrote D here. Anyway, now I'm playing person D. Yeah. So next round I put E twice. Second round I play D. D is the guy that plays static rook, Jagoda all the time, and he beat me in the last tournament. So let's get into that game. Let's go into that game quickly here. Let me change up the opponent's name to D. Oof. Bam. All right, so D. Here we are. Now, in this one, here we go. I'm also, again, Golte. So he comes out here. This is the very standard Jagoda. I can't really play a more standard Jagoda than what's happening right here. There's a couple variations of how you build your castle and how you create your attack. But he comes up to this spot. And now at this spot, his bishop, I'm expecting it to maybe come out to here, or to stop here. And there's two different main theory lines behind this when he stops here. So I'm like, okay, I gotcha. I know what's happening. I know this line. I know what I want to do. And now he puts it away. Now at this position, let's look at what the board looks like here. So this is where we stop and it goes back to his turn. In Yagura, so this is the Yagura. The Yagura castle is silver, gold, gold. King is inside. I'm trying to build the same castle. I've got silver, gold, gold. I want to put my king up over here, but my bishop is in the way, so I have to move him somewhere out of the way so I can move him in. I do a version of this where I try to bring the bishop out to attack something with tempo, and then I move him in. This kind of move that he did over here, this move over here is kind of just a move. It doesn't really do anything to me. It's just a very safe move on their side. I can't really exploit that besides the fact that you made a move and it's really not such a efficient move. It's a safe move, but its efficiency is very low. But he's first player, so he's thinking, okay, I can take the efficiency loss because I'm first player. Basically gives me first player position, and we go into this position. Now, at this point, if you look at the two castles, so this is his defensive side. Oh, geez, that was bad. This is his defensive side, and this is his offensive side. All right, so his defensive side is completely finished. His offensive side has made no moves. Literally, it is exactly how it started. Let's look at mine. This is my defensive side. Same castle. This is my offensive side. I have balance in mind. So I've got the majority of my castle started. I've got an attack also done. I've pushed this pawn forward. I'm ready to take this. I've got pressure on his side where he can't just ignore it. I've got an attack started where he has completely just blocked himself in. He's castled up first because this person knows in the past when I've played them, if they don't castle like very clean and safely, I'll exploit their mistakes and I'll just do too much damage in the beginning of the game where they can't really come back from it. So this time it was smart that they prepared, like, I'm just going to I'm going to castle first before anything, and then we're going to go into another round. So he starts his attack now, and I bait out this bishop change that I want. So I push this pawn forward. He brings the rook forward now to attack down here. This is how it usually is earlier in the game, but this is a line I like. I bring the silver up forward first, and then he pushes this pawn again forward, trying to get some momentum to maybe attack down here with this, or to bring the silver forward and attack with everyone together. So anyway, I come in, I'm like, okay, let's take a trade. If he takes, I take, and then I try to actually, he can potentially drop stuff here. I just step away, and this is nothing. There's a lot of different ways that you can make this an issue, but I mean, if they don't do anything, I do have some kind of nasty drops and things like that that I can potentially do over here. At this point, usually I'll do this, and then I'll drop here. If they come forward, I can come down here and promote. This is kind of how I attack if they take my bishop at this position here, but instead of him taking my bishop, he stepped back. And now it's like, this is actually really big for me because his moves, right? So he spent one move just moving the bishop here. My bishop move removed itself from my king and threatened him at the same time. And then he moved back. So he's made 3 bishop moves. 4 bishop moves where I've made 1, 2. So I have a 2-move advantage against this person basically at this point. And I'm feeling very, very confident. I'm like, oh, that is so good for me that he doesn't want to do this exchange. He's not comfortable with, he doesn't know about it. So I have a huge move advantage at this point. And I'm like, all right, let's castle up as much as we can. I know that he's going to come and attack down here. I have ways to defend this, so I'm going to do my attack first. I'm relatively safe because he's moved everything back down this line. I'm attacking down this line, and I've got a good attack coming up. So he brings the silver out forward. I start my attack. Takes, drops the silver. I push forward, takes, and now, very similar to the last game, I take with the bishop. Now, a lot of times in this position, the same thing that was going to happen last time is he wants to drop the bishop here to fork my rook and my king. But he can't do that because I'm giving him check. I'm giving him check right now, so he can't do that. So now he's forced to drop a pawn between. I step back. He continues his attack forward. I push my pawn up the side because I'm going to try to attack up this side with this and try to break in over here, drop my bishop back here. What I'm looking to do now is very soon I want to do this drop. Very, very soon I want to do this drop because I'm either going to promote here or I'm going to take here. He can't like try to absorb it like this because I literally just win the game. I literally just win the game. This is defended. He steps back here. Boom, 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 boom. I don't even need to really exchange the rook. I have other ways to do this, but it's really bad if I get this drop here. So instead, I realize that this is still a thing, but I'm going to step back first. He comes forward, steps back, and now after this is when I start doing my drops, and I just kind of progressively win the game slowly from here on out. I actually... he tries to attack down the side, and I do a lot of things. I won't go into the detail. I remember this game very clearly because it's something I specifically prepared for in great detail. So felt relatively good about this. After this drop, I'm going to actually push this forward first to try to get him to step back, and then get everything back in here. If he starts attacking down here, now I can do my attack is just faster. If he tries to take, I have too much attacking. He doesn't have enough. I take too much material. Anyway, I won this game. That's what's important. I will go back to where we were before as well. So anyway, I won that game, and then I had my break. So this point of the game, I'm up 2-0 against everyone. If we go back to the players here, A is in the process of their second game at this point when I'm on my break. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to get some water. I'm going to think about game one is why did I do that stupid silver move in game one? I don't like this, but here we go. I'm thinking about it, and we get in. And now I'm looking at everyone else. I'm like, okay, during the break, A wins their game, and it's 2 versus 2. So I've won my first 2 games. He's won his first 2 games. And now it's like, okay, we are tied first and second for the tournament. Everyone else has lost one of their first games. So right now it's me or A that's going to win this tournament because we've won both of our first games. The next game that we play is important, but no one else can really catch up with us at this point because we've won our first 2 games. One of us is going to win. And then game 3 starts, and I'm playing A. I'm playing A. And it's 2-0, turn versus 2. This is the deciding match of the tournament. Whoever is going to win this game, it's going to be, as I explained in the beginning, it's going to be 9-9-8 versus 9-9 loss. Probably win their final game 7. It would be very weird for us to beat the people that we're beating and then kind of lose the last game as we're ranked higher than basically everyone else. We're not ranked, but we're seeded higher. We were expected to win. So this is the game. So I prepared like crazy for this. Now, this is what the game usually looks like. My opponent, I usually start with, this is my first move. My opponent, every single time, let me change his name first. Every single time I've played A, every single time I've played A, he always starts here. Goes here. He plays center rook. So this is that center rook style. Static rook I was explaining before is you don't move your rook. Your rook attacks the line that it starts in. Ranged rook is where you move your rook and it'll attack down a different line. But specifically, this ranged rook style is called center rook, where it attacks down the center. And this is how every single one of the last 5 games I've played him. I've played 5 games against him, and every single game looks like this at the beginning. Every single game looks like this at the beginning. The best move on the board in this position for my opponent is this move. This move here, and then we go into a very slow game where we have to castle, and we build all this basically we castle like this. This is the standard way to do it. I'm going to bring up this silver here. I'm going to bring up this. He's got, I think it goes here. There's a lot of things that go on in this game, but he's never played this move against me. I've got lines prepared for this move because this is actually the best move on the board. And 9 out of 10 times if I'm playing someone that plays center rook, they play this move. But he always plays this move. After this, what I've prepared and I've played against him until this has been this attack here. He always pushes this pawn at this time. He comes here. I push this. He can't take with that. I drop here, steps back. And then this is an important move. I run this guy over here. He's going to attack my rook down the corner, and I go hyper aggressive. He takes my corner. I take his. He's going to take that. I take this. This is how the game looks every time we play together. Every time we play together, this is what the game looks like. I'm doing very well in this position. I've got a piece that's about to promote up into here. I'm very close to all this. I've got a check coming. I've got a lot of stuff happening, but this game is, I lose in this position the past 5 times in the end game. He's just got liquid end game. He's so good. And this is what I prepared for. I spent 3 days preparing for these lines. This specific line here, if I'm first player, if I'm second player, it's a little bit different, but I was like, I'm going to effing win this turn this time. I've got all these pieces here. I'm thinking about what I want to do next. I'm thinking about dropping this piece here or just promoting this pawn, depending on what his next moves are. I'm thinking about moving this silver back to defend here if I need to, bringing this gold forward if I need to. There's a lot of different lines depending on what he's going to do, depending on what he plays. I have a lot of lines. If he comes here, I'm just going to take. I've already done a lot of theory and looked about a lot of this. I have just like standard, I'm just going to drop this piece here to threaten these, even though it's defended. I can take an exchange off. I've looked at so many lines. We get in the game. I'm sitting at the table. I'm like, all right, let's go. This is his first move. And I look at the board for about 30 seconds. And I'm like, what? Months I've played this person. Every single time, regardless of what I do, their first move is this. This is their first move. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they're bluffing. Maybe they're bluffing because they're first player, I'm second player. At this point, if I do a move like this, they could potentially come over to static rook and I could just continue my standard game and it'll look fine. But I was like, all right, no, I'm not going to take this bluff. I'm going to play my standard move against. If they do this move, this is how I open. And then he played this move. And now it's too much of a loss to now shift over to center rook in this position because I want to open this if he's playing center rook against me. He doesn't want to push these pawns if he's playing center rook. He wants to push this pawn if he's playing center rook. He's basically given me 2 turns of just development if he's playing this. So I was like, holy shit, he's not playing center rook. Oh my God, he's not playing center rook. I prepared 3 days of 7 for center rook, and he's not playing center rook. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? So I remember this game because I was like freaking out. I was like, okay, well, I need to make sure that he doesn't get this exchange. I want to defend that. He opens up this side. I do my standard. This is how I'm going to play if we're going to do bishop exchange. If he's going to take my bishop, I'm going to come here and I'm going to start attacking down his side of the board. So I see what he's doing now. He plays a hyper aggressive center rook. So right, like his standard center rook style. If we go look at the center rook style, he immediately just plays very, very aggressive against me. So I play very aggressive against him back. In this style too, he's doing the same thing. He's playing very aggressive against me. He's bringing the silver forward to try to come down and attack me. So I defend. I don't want him to do, if he, like in this position, there are some nasty lines. If I do something like this, that's a terrible move. If I do something like this, he can just kind of sack a piece, but come in for great development. And I'm going to take these pieces. And like, this is the style that he is super comfortable with. He loves playing these messy games where it's just like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening. I don't know these weird theory lines. He loves this stuff. So it's like, okay, I can't allow that to happen. I need to bring this gold forward here. So it's defended. And he starts attacking down. Now I'm realizing I need to try to get this pawn across the board. He's good enough to know that he has to defend like this, but I'm like, okay, dude, I'm going to get a pawn advantage from the beginning on this. I'm going to just go for the pawn advantage. There was one move I was a little bit worried about in this position. If he takes here and takes and tries to drop like in this spot to promote down here, this is just winning for me. This is just winning for me. I know it's winning for me. There's no way I lose in this position. There's no way I lose in this position because his king is here. He can't move anything because of the check. It's just I'm going to take this. He can't do anything about it. I'm going to take his corner. He's got some moves and stuff like that where he can, try to attack things, but I'm going to win this game. I'm going to win this game if he comes to this. So I wasn't too worried about that. He drops the pawn. I move back. If he wants to do really aggressive, I'm not worried about it. So in this position, he pushes the pawn forward because he can't really bring the silver forward. I'll just take. If he brings the silver forward now, I just kind of take, and that's bad. So he brings the pawn forward to defend it first, and now I actually take his bishop, and he kind of gets upset about this. He's like, I didn't want that to happen. So he comes back here, takes it. I start doing my moves to get my attack out, and he just straight drops it right back to where it was. He's like, this is the line that I prepared. I'm playing this line. Just threatening down to take this corner is what he wants to do. He wants to take this corner. I think he wants to try to either put that this piece here or over here or down the center or something like that. He's going to try to do something with this piece. I see him eyeing this piece down in the corner. So I'm like, I'm not going to let you take that. So I'm going to bring this gold up forward. I need to be able to try to defend over here if needed. And yeah, I'm just kind of concerned. He brings this pawn forward, and now I know what he's trying to do. He's going to try to do an exchange here where I'm expecting something like this. If I do something like this, I'm expecting something like this, where he might just straight up take it, just go in. Because at this point, if I take, he's just going to sack all of his pieces, but get this side over here. So he's just about to take everything. He's down some pieces, but this is his style of game. This is how he likes to play. So I was kind of concerned about that. So I was like, okay, I don't want him to have the potential to maybe take this and drop down this line later. So I'm going to close that line. I'm going to push this pawn forward. I don't want him to have this bishop out here when I try to do my attacks, right? Because if I do something like this next, he has the ability to come down here and try to fork out all of these pieces, and I just don't want that. I'm not going to let that happen, so I do this attack. He comes forward, I take, I'm expecting him to take here. He takes with the rook. And I was like, okay, I see what he's doing. So I block, so he can't continue forward. He can't do anything like that. He takes the pawn next to it. I come here, he steps back, and now I don't want to drop here. This is a move I see, but I want to keep this open for offense. I don't want to play super defensive. That's what he's wanting me to do. My opponent wants me to play super defensively because he has studied lines for how to deal with this. So I'm like, okay, let's turn on the gas again. If you're going to be this aggressive against me, I'm going to turn on the gas too. He drops this pawn, and I find this move. I find this move here, which is one of the best moves. And as soon as I made this move, he was like, I saw him put his hands on his face, and he was like, he was not prepared for this move. He didn't think I was going to find it, or he didn't think about it or whatnot, but I found this move, and I was very proud of this move. I spent 3 minutes looking at this position to find this move, and when I found this move, that's why I played this pawn first. I was like, I can defend this. So I saw him drop here. I saw him drop this here. What I was thinking about doing in this position was I can't really, what I'm thinking about doing is something like this, so he can't drop here, but I can't do that. I can't drop this back, because if I drop this back, what he can do is he can just straight up take this. So I can't do that. This doesn't attack to the side. So I'm stuck. I'm like, okay, well, I can't drop the pawn here. If I drop a pawn here, he still has this attack. And what am I supposed to do? And then he just takes my corner, right? I was like, I can't do that. I can't let that happen. So I spent a long time here. I saw that regardless if he does anything, this is going to be an issue. I push this forward, wait for the pawn to drop, and then I move the gold over. Maybe the gold over was a better move first, but what happens later is he promotes the pawn. I take this, and now he doesn't have any way to take this because I can just step back. I can just step back in this position now. He doesn't have any way to take out this in the corner. If he tries to sack something, I just have more. He doesn't have any way to attack me. This doesn't attack anything. And then what I can actually do is just take it. It doesn't do anything. If he tries to do something like this, again, I can just basically just kind of step back. Oh, he's attacking. I can just take it with my gold. Sorry, that was a stupid move. It doesn't, I found this brilliant idea. I found this brilliant idea of 2/4 king me, right king, right gold. And after that, this was the base of the game. Oh, sorry, this was the, no, what was that? Hold on. So after this, he thought for a long time. I ended up getting out and attacking. I attacked on the center of the board, actually. I didn't attack over here. I dropped my next move. I don't remember exactly what he did. But I ended up dropping a pawn here and then dropping this bishop here and just kind of attacking everything in the board. And I ended up really getting a good attack and winning, and I crushed it. So that was it. This was the game. This dude that I've played for so long, every time plays center rook, he played static rook against me. All of my prep and my theory for this guy went out the window out of his first move. His first move, as soon as he went here, I prepped for 3 days for not that move. I prepped for 3 days for not that move either. And this was all just on the board. I was making it up as I went along. I never played this line against this super hyper aggressive rook exchange, bishop exchange style, and especially like him just dropping it back here. I've never dealt with this before. I was like, I don't think that's the best move, but I won the game. And at this point, this was the big thing. I had at this point basically won the tournament. It was win-win-win versus win-win-loss. No one else has won all 3 games. I'm the only person that won all 3 first of the games. So at this point, I've won my class. I've won my class of my tournament, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. I had win-win-win. He had win-win-loss. So I'm ahead. And at this point, I realized I won the tournament. There's no way anyone can come back against me. I've won the tournament. I have 1 game left, but I have won this tournament. I've won this tournament. And my hands started shaking uncontrollably. Absolutely uncontrollably. I couldn't stop shaking my hands. And my teacher came over. He's like, yeah, you just won the tournament. He's like, congratulations, you're going to promote. And you won the tournament. So I beat the guy that I'd spent so long preparing against. And after the game, I talked to him. I was like, why did you play static rook? I had specifically watched other games of his earlier during my break. So during my break, if you remember, I said during my break, he was in the middle of his second game. I looked at the board and it was center rook. And I was like, okay, here we go. I was kind of looking at it and trying to see, what his ideas are. But I assumed he had other things prepared for other people, just like I had for me. And he came to my table and he played something totally different. And he basically said, last time we played, remember, we've played 5 games together. I'm 0-5 against him. I'm 0-5 against him. Right? So of this, I'm 0-5. And he was like, our last game, you had a checkmate. He's like, you had a checkmate the last game. You just didn't find it based on time. Last time we played, it was 20-minute time control. Today is 30-minute time control. You have time now. So he was like, I didn't want to play center rook against you because I didn't want to kind of play into your prep, and I wasn't confident I could beat you with center rook. So I learned a whole new strategy, overarching strategy, just to come and play me. And it was kind of humbling and flattering. And it was like, he played a whole different style to try to win this tournament. And I beat him. And I felt great. I felt super good. Last game I played wasn't anything super crazy. Game 4 was against player C, who I've gone 15-3 against. 15-3 against. This is this person. And again, it was me. I was 3-0. He was 2-1. I won this last game too. I won all 4 of my games. So everyone else lost the game, or 2 or 3. I didn't lose any game in the tournament. Not only did I win the tournament, I aced it. I didn't lose any games, even against people that I've never beaten before until this tournament today. So because of that, I felt really strong, very proud of myself for all the work I put in last month. I put in the video, I'm going to win the tournament on the 29th. I went and I fucking won the tournament on the 29th. Not only did I win it, I did it with a perfect score. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of motivation. Sorry, it's a 45-minute video. I'm going to cut it and end it here, trying to talk about, what I did. I played a lot of good people. The person I was, the only thing I'm kind of not so much upset about is I played everyone in the tournament besides E. Besides this person, I was kind of anxious about, right? So I played A, I played C, I played D. And I didn't get to play B, but afterwards, B even said, he was like, I didn't do well this tournament. I was this was my first tournament being with this school, so it was kind of weird, and he did very well. He ended up winning 2 of his games, or actually 3 of his games, but he lost his first one against A. And after that, he was just kind of like, I didn't really feel comfortable. I was, out of my element. So I think if I had hit him, I would have had a psychological advantage against him just because I've won the past couple games against him. I beat the person that beat him. So it's like, okay, I can't beat that guy and you beat that guy. I wouldn't have been able to beat you as well. So it was kind of interesting to do this. But yeah, overall, very fun tournament. I won it. Next tournament is coming up in 2 months. I have one in March, next month. I've got one at the end of next month, and I will try to put weekly updates again back in as I was doing before. That I'm not super cramming for a tournament now. But thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.